Amber Heard faced another day of gruelling cross-examination in the defamation trial filed against her by ex-husband Johnny Depp. More details of their relationship were revealed as Depp's attorney questioned why she bought her allegedly abusive partner a knife for his birthday.
I gave him a knife, I think for a birthday present early in our relationship. I believe it was around 2012, but I'm not certain.
We've seen a picture of that knife, but I think we should bring out the real thing.
Yes, that's it.
That's the knife you gave to the man who was hitting you, right, Miss Heard?
I wasn't worried he was going to stab me with it when I gave it to him, that's for certain.
But you gave it to him while he was abusing you, allegedly.
I gave it to him that year.
The court was also shown the couple's journal where they wrote love notes to each other. In one entry, Amber wrote about her madness of passion and how she wanted to rip her husband apart to devour him. She also alleged she's now the subject of a smear campaign.
Mr. Depp mentions Aquaman, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Mr. Depp got you that role in Aquaman, didn't he?
Excuse me?
Mr. Depp got you that role in Aquaman, didn't he?
No, Miss Vasquez, I got myself that role by auditioning.
A lot of really negative publicity for you, Miss Heard. Isn't that right?
There's been an ongoing smear campaign, yes.
An ongoing negative publicity campaign.
It's an orchestrated smear campaign.
You have no evidence of that, do you, Miss Heard?
Just look me up, you'll see.
Precisely. Now, the petition to remove Heard from the second Aquaman film has now reached more than 4 million signatures. Look, I think we need to be really, really careful when we're discussing this case, not to turn it into an entertainment story. It is two entertainers, I accept that, but this is a story about domestic violence and domestic abuse, however you see it. Now, the fact that she was cross-examined about this knife and questioned, the insinuation there is, why, if this man was abusive, would you give him a knife as a gift? But I think her answer was perfectly clear, which was, well, I never thought he was going to use it against me. She wouldn't be cross-examined on, well, why did you let him use a knife and fork at dinner if he was so abusive?
But Nick, with the greatest respect, I've sat and I need to say this, OK? Yeah. If you are being, and many, many women are, and you've talked very honestly, yep. If you are being abused by a man who you do not trust, who you think is going to be violent, are you genuinely telling me that you would buy him a knife? Seriously. Forget knife and fork. You would buy him a knife like that for his birthday. Would you?
If you didn't think that he was capable of using it, yes.
If he'd just done all the things to you that she said, and we are, of course, watching this, would you really buy him?
I don't think you know the answer to that question because you've not been in that situation.
No, but I'm asking because Nick has said
I wouldn't even know because I wasn't in that situation.
I mean?
I understand where you're coming from, but again, we're putting on the onus on an alleged victim in that scenario to justify her actions in something that I believe is completely irrelevant. She bought somebody a gift. It doesn't matter whether or not she thought that he was going to use it against her. She didn't. She didn't think that he was going to use it against her. I think it's absolutely absurd that that's the line of questioning that's going on, and it's upsetting. It's upsetting as somebody who's experienced this in her life to think that any other victims who come forward and speak about it will be torn to shreds on the stand.
So, this is what we were saying, wasn't it, the other day, that because, as you said, it's a circus and it's become entertainment, that the message to people who want to step forward is it could be turned into that and they might not.
Absolutely. And I think, so we obviously don't have cameras in our courts in this country, so this is a really interesting glimpse into what it's like for a woman to go to court, whether it's on prosecuting a rape charge or domestic violence. So many barristers have said to me that one of the reasons why it's so difficult for women in the court system is that when they go into the system, they are put in the dock. They are hounded like an animal in the court, as we're seeing with Amber Heard. Now, listen, I don't hold a candle to Amber Heard. She seems like quite an annoying person to me. But remember, Johnny Depp lost a case in this country with a prominent tabloid newspaper. To me, he is seeking his revenge for her. She is getting absolutely rinsed day in, day out. She's getting completely humiliated. The stuff that I've seen on social media is horrific. Death threats, rape threats, the whole gambit. I think any woman watching that will think, my God, I don't want to go anywhere near a court. I don't ever, ever want to be put in that position.
Do you remember Mel saying last week that,
Yeah.
that there is the choice, and it does beg, why have they made it that public?
Well, it's not
you know what
they,
I mean?
it's him.
He.
Well, it's
He's-
him, yeah. I mean, the thing-
he's suing her.
And the thing about courts is they are very brutal places, and I don't think until you've sat in one, which I've done many times, you know, covering cases quite high profile, sometimes not. You know, barristers are very good at what they do, and that woman is doing her job, and she's working for Johnny Depp, and she will win probably as many points as she can manage, and she doesn't care about Amber Heard. She doesn't care what Amber Heard feels. She doesn't care what she thinks. She doesn't care really what she says, as long as she catches around. You've got to say, I mean, they obviously had a very unusual relationship. I mean, I've never given anybody a hunting knife as a birthday present. I don't know if any of you guys have. Seems like a pretty odd thing to do.
The point that I was trying to make to you was, would you, because I know you've been in that position, my question was, would you, in your position, if you had that concern, would you give that way? Do you understand what I mean?
I do, but you don't know the specifics, as Aisha was saying. You don't know whether this had been spoken about before, whether this was a gift that had been expected. But also worth bearing in mind, this is a libel case. Normally in domestic violence cases, the burden of proof is on the victim to prove that something happened, and they are being cross-examined and they're being questioned on rape kits, on injuries, on their sexual history.
Going through the phone, the sort of the digital strip search, it's called, in terms of going through your phone.
It makes you think, well, why on earth do women and victims, I accept that there can be men, bring these cases into court? And I hope that no one is deterred from doing that because they've seen this. This is a libel trial. It's not a domestic violence trial.
Yeah, but I don't think people should ever go to court thinking that it's not going to be like that. Because I accept what you're saying. I don't think it should stop people. But you also can't just think it's going to be a walk in the park, like Rebecca Vardy obviously did, and now she's getting humiliated as well. So you can't do that.
Yeah, well, it's certainly never a walk in the park for any victims of domestic violence.